What is something that your parents did that you swore never to repeat to your own kids? Be unapproachable. Come talk to me anytime about anything. Everything can be fixed. Refuse to admit I was wrong. The only semblance of an apology I've ever received from my mother was, "I'm sorry you feel that way." I don't think she's ever actually apologized or taken blame for her actions in my 30-odd conscious years. If I ever outsmarted my mom, it was considered attitude. I get her thought process. She of course had been around longer than a 13-year-old. So clearly there's nothing I could say to her she didn't already know, and she obviously knows better than me. My mom also never apologized. If it ever became clear she was in the wrong, she'd laugh and say she didn't remember saying that, or I must have had some sort of attitude and that's why she acted upset. That is not the philosophy I will bring to my kids. It's gonna be a learning experience for the both of us. My dad would get mad at me sometimes too, and a lot of those times were warranted, and a lot were not. Anytime I proved him wrong, he'd apologize immediately, and leave it at that. One time when I was around 15, we were both being dickheads and didn't speak for a night. In retrospect, I was the main dickhead, but he was a close second. He came in the next day and apologized anyway. He told me he was the adult in the situation and he hadn't been. He hated things being off with us, and he loved me. That is exactly how I hope to be with my kids. Really poor food choices. My mom, trailer trash, I'm sorry, used to go every day to the 7-Eleven and get me a lunch of powdered donuts, a pop, and some chips, every so often a sandwich in those little plastic triangles, or a chocolate bar. I used to think it was cool, but even at 12, I knew something was up. I remember my teacher one time came up to me and said, "Don't you ever have anything healthy?" I laughed it off, but I felt like it was a shitty thing to do to a kid. I know it's about health. But duck, that would be expensive. Tell me I depress them when I confide in them. Sorry dude. When I came out about it, my mom blamed me and said, "Why are you doing this to me?" Like I made up 10+ years of depression to get at her or something. It's not a good feeling and I get it. God yeah. I love my mom, but whenever I tell her how shit I feel, she makes me feel awful for telling her. I always make the mistake of confiding in her and then regret it each time. I told my dad, and ever since he calls it my mood issues. Says he doesn't know how my job still employs a guy with a wild card attitude. Constantly comparing myself to other people's kids and belittling my own achievements. That's just the equivalent of comparing your parents' wages, house or job with other kids' parents. My parents always did this to me and then got really offended if I tried to do it to them. Like if I dared mention a friend going on vacation, they'd be super offended at the comparison when it wasn't even that. It really sucked. Frown. The thing people tend to hate the most is seeing their own negative traits in other people. When I was little, when my dad was doing anything out in the yard, my brother and I would ask if we could help. The answer was always, "You can help by staying out of the way." My kids are always allowed to help, and so feel they can contribute, grow a sense of self-worth, and an appreciation of group effort. This has been the hardest thing for me as a parent, but I'm working on it. My 4-year-old wants to help me do absolutely everything, but sometimes I just don't have the time to spend doing something in 30 minutes that should have taken 5. He loves helping with the laundry and dishes though. I'm just leery about cooking. Edit, I don't think I can reply to everyone, so I wanted to say thank you for providing me with some tips and tricks. My dude really enjoys baking, so we'll work more on that and the science behind it. That's his favorite. I recently purchased some donut pans, so we'll be doing that today. Mine is official stirrer and taster. Also, just tall enough for the cheese drawer, so cheese getter. If letting her help increases the task by 25 minutes but reduces my pretend play responsibilities by 25 minutes, then hell yes. I feel bad. I loved it as a kid. I know it's important, but I hate pretend play. I wanted to put cheesegator on my some. Never actually saying I love you. Yep, never once heard my parents say these words. I make sure my son knows I love him, every single day. He's 20 and probably tired of it, but too bad. Lol. Username checks out. That's so wholesome. Oh my god, I hope they start every text message to their son this way. Mom to Aaron, it's 10 p.m. and you have school tomorrow, go to bed. I know you're still up, sleep or you'll be tired and grumpy in the morning. Love you, Mom. Teaching them by comparing them to their own better behaved smarter siblings. In a very condescending manner. OFC. Shit, I was compared to other people's kids. Insert other kid's name, would never do that to their parent. I still am. Well, XYZ friend wouldn't speak that way to their parent. Mom, I'm a 30-year-old man and you haven't even seen XYZ friend since we were 9. You don't know shit. In Korea, there is actually a term for this. Omchinga, abbreviated, for mother's friend's son, as the symbolic ultimate standard your mom compares you to. Moms meet for chit-chat and brag, and highly exaggerate, about their children's achievements, and then use the exaggerated stories at home to compare their children to. Minimize anything they pursue. Edit. Hey, thanks for the award, that's so kind. My mother would absolutely burn down any dream I had as a kid. Singer? Well, that's nice, but it will never happen. Gymnast? We can't afford that. But she never went without beer, weed, or smokes. I was 12, of course it wasn't gonna happen, but Jesus woman, a little support. Lecture. My mom could go on for hours for even small misbehaviors. Somehow, it usually looped around to how I didn't keep my room clean, even though the rest of the house was just as much of a mess or worse. When I need to have a stern or serious discussion with my kids, I force myself to make my point in 5 minutes or less. I've even said stuff like, look, this is taking way too long, just don't do disallowed thing again, okay? I also apologize if I yell, as soon as I am emotionally able to after an angry outburst. I don't remember mom ever doing that. I received so many lectures that went on for ages while just repeating the same things over and over again. It was so frustrating to hear something said for the 14th time, asked if I understood, and even when a yes answer was given, the lecture still continued. This is so relatable. If I were to tell my mom that she was going on and on about something little, she would only start complaining even louder. Frown. Not be affectionate. My mom was very distant and not a physically emotional person with me growing up. I realize that if I have kids, I do want to read to them, hug them, celebrate their accomplishments. Overall, have them feel comfortable with me to share their thoughts or feelings. Edit. Whoa. Was not expecting any of the comments or upvotes at all. I just post and keep it moving, but you know what? Hugs for all, only if you consent. I enjoyed reading some of the comments so far and will continue. Smile. This has been the most affection I've gotten in quarantine, so I hope you're all doing better than I am. My husband expressed one time how his family wasn't a hugger type family when he grew up, and so he hugs me all the time. When my youngest was little, he is, a total man's boy and would get jealous and run in between us, which would lead to the eldest and the dog joining the fun. This has led to hug time, exactly like the Trolls movie. Someone calls hug time, that's it, you drop everything and hug. The dog even knows this statement. Edit. Mama, not men's. Lol. Wholesome as duck. Redo things they've done because it's not the exact way I would have done it. My mom would refold the laundry or remake my bed. Drove me nuts and made me feel like, why even bother trying? Get loaded in front of them. Growing up in a family of drunks has soured me for the most part to drinking even socially. I do partake occasionally but not often. Deep down I feel alcoholism is in my genetics, so I steer clear unless the occasion is perfect. Man, I'm struggling so much with this. Borderline alcoholic. Once I start, I find it very hard to stop. Day 5 of being sober. Wake them from a dead sleep, on a school night, to introduce them to my drunk friends I just came home with, because I'm a bartender. Oh shit, you reminded me of another one. I will never get drunked out and make my son come find me, bring me home in the middle of the night before his high school finals. I will never make him bail me out of jail, using personal favors. Threads like this make me want to say I'll never do anything that my mother did. But that simplifies a very complicated feeling. When my mother loved me, I felt like the greatest person in the world. It's complicated. Ada, a lot of people here are suffering and hurt. We all need and deserve love, help. Any of you all can message me whenever about whatever. I'm here. I might not be useful, and I'll probably curse a lot, but I care. If you want a healthier response, I'd like to suggest Ramum for Amanut. The ladies there are the wonderful, kind and loving women that you all deserve. It really is. Shitty and/or abusive parents aren't abusive all of the time, and it makes it so hard to understand that you're not supposed to be living in the situation you are. It makes it difficult to either hate or forgive them. You just get stuck in this weird limbo. The best phrase I've ever heard in relation to this feeling is love your parents with as much room as they give you to do so. Phrase credit, you an empty hell.